Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology book, the Parshas Tavo, we're going to look at the mitzvah of Bikurim. Bikurim being the mitzvah where the person is told to bring their first fruits that have grown and the produce and to dedicate it to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And this mitzvah, in its basic form, in terms of what is the central principle, the message behind the mitzvah, is that it inculcates a person with the idea and an appreciation for gratitude. Gratitude being a central mechanism in terms of how a person can view themselves, view their life, view the skills and talents that they have. If we go into positive psychology, gratitude is something that comes up over and over again in terms of how to function to the optimum level, how to deal with different aspects of our life. Gratitude, which is something which, in this video at least, we're not going to focus on gratitude per se, but just as by way of introduction, it's just to place the foundations there, to understand the significance of this mitzvah of Bikurim, of how it gives us this value to appreciate the principle of gratitude. But what's interesting in this mitzvah of Bikurim, if we're saying it's a gratitude mitzvah, bringing the first fruits, is that the pasuk stipulates that the person should bring the fruits in a basket. And we can ask why. Why can't a person just bring the fruits? I mean, yes, on a practical level, it might be easier to put the fruits in a basket in order to travel to the Beis Hamikdash, in order to travel with the fruits. But we could say, seemingly, the mitzvah is not affected by whether there's a basket or not. By bringing the fruits, holding the fruits in your hand, you're bringing these fruits as a tool of gratitude. So what is the specific detail of placing it in a basket, putting it in some container that can hold these fruits? So the Chizkuni, for one, says that it's to make the mitzvah more beautiful. You're bringing these fruits. This is, as we said, it represents gratitude. It represents some level of appreciation towards it that's being expressed towards the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So to make that mitzvah more beautiful, more significant, then you don't just hold it in your hand. You don't just pull it along. You place it in a beautiful vessel. You place it in something a container, which holds this mitzvah and transforms it to a higher level, a more beautiful level, gives it greater significance and value. So therefore, we can say that from one point of view, this basket serves a technical purpose, a practical purpose of holding the fruits, and then also on a spiritual, psychological level, it elevates its value. And I'd like to develop this a little bit further, because if we say, as we said, the mitzvah is focusing on gratitude, being a central tenet to the way we function in our life, and being an ingredient which is stressed time and time again through positive psychology in terms of how we live our life, and how to focus on adaptive and healthy living and functioning. So this is the fruits. But what happens, and I've seen this often in therapy, in my work, when people are working on themselves and they're fully committed to the therapeutic process, they're working on change, and they start to see, fortunately, they start to see change, they start to see improvement. And when you ask someone about how things are going, if we're going from one week to the next, and improvement starts to work its way into a person's life, there can be a number of different things that can happen. First of all, they could perhaps take it for granted that, change is happening. They take in some way a more passive, almost apathetic approach to the change. Yes, they wanted to see an improvement, and now that it's happened, so it's almost something which is taken for granted. And obviously, it's something which you don't want. You don't want someone to take the effort and the progress that they've made for granted. But it could be, alternatively, that when you ask a person what has changed, that they aren't actually aware yet. They don't notice the change. That's something that through therapy is important. When a person is experiencing an improvement, is to help them notice it. Perhaps they're not aware of it. Sometimes a person can be so stuck and almost in a habitual way, be focused on the negative, that even when there has been improvement, it can be hard for them to see. So that's something to work on as well. Sometimes, just as a third option, A person can be so scared in a way, there's a fear that this change won't last. That yes, they are aware of the improvement and the change, but by giving it too much focus to it, there's a fear that it won't last. They just want to, in a way, turn the other way and just hope. It's almost like closing your eyes and just hoping that it will last. So in therapy, it's important, what it does to help, especially with this third category, is to say, not only are you appreciating the change and you have gratitude for it, and you're hoping that it will last, but it's important, almost in order for that it will last, is to provide yourself with a container to hold this gratitude. Not because you're taking it for granted, not because you don't notice it, and not because you're scared that it won't last. All this, if you work on providing an environment in a therapeutic, whether it's in a therapeutic alliance, whether it's a person can do this outside of therapy in their day-to-day life, is to develop this basket, to develop this internal container, to hold not the negative emotions and the feelings and the struggles and the stress that is more common to the therapeutic process, and certainly from a psychodynamic perspective, the idea of containing and holding negative emotions, but we can flip it on the other side. The basket of Bikurim is creating this container to hold positive, successful emotions and indications and signs of change and improvement. To find that way of creating a basket, to say, yes, I can look at this change, I can notice it, I can recognize what has changed, what has happened, what I have done, and I'm not scared of that, and I'm not avoiding it, and I'm not ignoring it. It's okay. Not only is it okay, it is therapeutically, it's significant and valuable to have this container. By holding this gratitude for change, by holding these fruits and placing it in that container, in that basket, it beautifies and elevates the value of this process. It elevates and strengthens the process that you're going through and makes that change more likely to become a permanent change, and it will continue that way going forward. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.